Hello and welcome, I'm Keys Gray, and this is the top 5 RPG Maker games on Steam. Basically, the only rule is that it has to be an RPG Maker game, and, well, it has to be on Steam. Without further ado, number 5. Millennium, A New Hope. Millennium is the classic story of the haves versus the have-nots. You are a wee little girl in a poor farming village looking to change things, and due to the nature of the prologue, you obviously succeeded in doing so. That leaves us where we start off, with nothing and a grand adventure ahead of us. Your father is somewhat of a tragic hero. He constantly fights the rich people over in Big Town to try and bring resources back to his comrades. Doing so often gets him hurt. All for the cause, he says. His daughter, you, are upset at seeing him this way and want to do something about the whole ordeal. A nearby maid or nurse or something very casually spouts out that those who win in the arena hearken change. But oh man, we can't do that because we're old, too poor, or too young. Well, guess what? We're gonna do just that. Well, you can try if you can find freaking grandpa in the next city over. That of which I was actually not able to do. Despite directions of go north, I got lost for about 30 minutes of searching and then gave up. Other than simple directions, you're given no indication of what to do. It's really frustrating. The first hour or so of gameplay should be introducing me to this world with little chance of rage quit. That's how you get people to stick around. Millennium failed to do that, not like I was missing much though. The whole presentation is fairly lackluster and often drummed up for dramatic effect. Like, for example, dialogue boxes will show character portrait backgrounds despite there not being any, and if there is one, it's like a really small square and compared to how big the background is. Combat is bland and only filled with the bare minimum. The only saving grace is the wonderful tile set. Like, lush forests are fantastically drawn, but the placement of the tiles is strange, like someone didn't know what a forest looked like or a farm looked like. He just started putting random stuff all over the place. Last but actually not least, the actual character portraits and menus are average, if not bad. The main character portrait in particular literally made me stop playing to laugh at how ridiculous it is. Next, do not bend like that. It's so dumb. This whole game is on a tightrope of average, about to fall to the side of poor. Really, the only reason this game is even here is that the top 4 indie games on Steam just doesn't have the same ring to it. Number 4, Always, Sometimes, Monsters. The prevailing question I had through my playtime was, what even is this game? You open on a hired hitman walking away from Colonel Sanders when this dude pops up and gets in your grill aiming a gun at your head. He goes on about some nonsense about decisions or whatever, and then you decide to shoot him, of course. I mean, of course. Or, well, you probably the first time, but then you have to go over and start again. This time, no shooty in his heady. He then goes on to tell a story where you get to take over some dude at a party. Soon after, you switch characters again to find another character. It's all very confusing. What does all this mean? Do any of these choices matter? Does anything matter? After all of that, you're dropped into a city a year after that meeting, and you seem to be $500 short of paying rent. And if you can't pay rent, you're out. Now, I guess you go around town trying to come up with money. I just don't really understand, but I am intrigued. There is so much to explore and so many options to exhaust. Very quickly, it becomes evident this game is all about the decisions you make and how they affect you. Most dialogue comes with opposing options branching so many players onto so many paths. How they connect, or how they don't, is the tug of progression here. The overall presentation is quite nice. All the character portraits are expertly done. The tile set didn't blow me away, but it got the job done. The writing is unfortunately stale. I never felt as though personality was coming through any of it. It's like a robot wrote everything. Maybe it was on purpose though. Anyway, this is a strange experience through and through. I am really torn on whether or not I like it, and it's up to you to make that choice. That was cliche on purpose. Number 3, Skyborn. Sail through the skies in your airship. Well, that is after you break out of jail and escape from the bird people. You are a seemingly talented mechanic with an able body capable of fixing airships and battling droids among other enemies. The home you live in is a pretty depressing one. Your people, the humans, are under the foot of a dominant race, the bird people. Essentially, humans live in slums with few to no rights, whereas the winged folk, Skyborn, live high on the hog in beautiful locations nowhere in the world. Having it even worse are the half-breeds, the humans whom have little wings. The whole race war concept is a bit outdated and ham-fisted, but it is relatively well written. I like that the characters have relatively complex motivations. For example, letting your characters walk free in exchange for a rebel. Now, he doesn't want the rebel to make the city safe. He wants to raise his rank while simultaneously lowering the rank of another. The rebel in question is a neat revolutionary character. I don't know who he is, but it's almost a certainty that he'll be a half-breed and instrumental in a future major changes to the society. Even having a good guess to how the game will play out, I still want to experience it, and it is truly great to be able to achieve that. All the assets, or in other words tile sets, character portraits, menu, nothing is hit out of the ballpark, but it's well enough on their own, along with there being limited usage of the core assets. Combat is the weak link in the entire project. It is simply bland and nearly unchanged from what is provided. The only major difference is the threat system, which is neat, but not enough to make me look forward to battle. Thankfully, the game devs probably realized this and made it so that there were no random battles, and even on that note, combat is limited. It's a very wide decision. Skyborn's eggs are securely in the basket of the writing, and hey, they do a pretty damn good job of it. Number 2, Stargazer. One of the most difficult things to do in writing is to make someone laugh, intentionally. And Stargazer has done just that. Not just with a one-off recurrence either. I was laughing all the way through my playthrough. Whether it be a comedic formula of lead up and then smashing expectations, or a character running away from confronted, I was laughing. A really small detail that had me rolling was a character named the artist formerly known as Darlene or something like that in an artist's house. Stargazer is freaking hilarious and worth playing through just for moments of that brilliance. Unfortunately, the dramatic writing is below average and even cringy at times. The world building in general follows suit. I never felt like I was experiencing a full world, more like a portion of one with lots of story cliffs. But it's not that big of an issue, nor does it come up that often. The overall presentation of this game is superb. The tile sets are mostly unique, I think, and colorful with a solid level of placement architecture. Menus and dialogue boxes all look fantastic with an unprecedented level of polish, but the character portraits do leave something to be desired. It's a very amateur work on that end. Combat, while not amazing, at the very least changes up the base code for something a little bit more visually interesting. Stargazer is hilarious and a colorful experience, and definitely worth a look, if nothing else than for a few laughs. Number 1, To the Moon. I think this one was relatively expected. This is the premier title in the RPGMaker collection. This very well may be the only reason RPGMaker is even a tag on Steam. First and foremost, this game is gorgeous in multiple ways, but first is the graphical prowess. The tile sets, while being of a small number and reused throughout the game, do their job well. Meaning, I wasn't blown away, but it's also colorful and sharp that really doesn't matter, and at certain points of the game, there will actually be on-screen effects dictating like the different memory status, which I thought was really cool. This extends to the menus, UIs, and dialogue boxes. It's good enough, but not spectacular. The music, on the other hand, I struggle to find the perfect words to describe that, and I know it's stupid for me as a writer to say, but it is just simply beautiful. I cannot express how much emotion shines through those few notes. Scenes in this game without the music would not convey the same message. There's just something about that one song in particular that just pulls at your heartstrings. Combine that with happening and it's just like turn on the freaking faucets of your eyes, you know. Your playable characters are 2 scientists at the home of a dying man named Johnny. Evidently, you make people's dreams and wishes come true. Well, sort of. You do this by going through the memories and interfering with their past self to achieve an outcome years later within that simulation. With Johnny in particular, you witness all the tragedies and even the happy moments to come and go. I really don't want to say more about the story here, but it's fantastic. The actual progression of Johnny's life is heart-wrenching, but not without some happiness. The commentary of your playable characters help add some outside commentary and often a bit of comic relief. Quite often I think, are video games art? Are they here for a while? Is there anything to this? Is it a potential fad? To the Moon is one of the best, and I mean that, one of the best games to argue for video games is something more. This list admittedly doesn't have the biggest stars on it, but if you're going to pull anything away from this, it should be this. RPG Maker games may come and go, but this is an experience that won't soon be forgotten. Wear earbuds, dim the lights, remove distractions, and just experience what To the Moon has to offer. Once again, I've been King's Decree, and this has been the top 5 RPG Maker games on Steam. Do you have a list you'd like us to check out? Please leave a comment below, and thanks for watching.